One of our attendees says that the single largest factor, negative factor, that they encounter at CDMOs is a lack of quality. QMS practices not as good as they say they are. Let me ask you: is that your experience? That the biggest challenge at the CDMO is on the quality side, or has it been something else?
Wasn't, I mean, from my experience, it wasn't, let's say, more of the quality side. I mean, there could be something that you want them to do some differently, some processes, and you can always request that, right, for your project specific to have those processes differently. But I don't think I have had, let's say, CDMO where I can just tell my, let's say, management that this is not the place to work with based on the quality system that I see.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. What
And,
would be
and
the big,
yeah.
yeah, what would be the biggest challenge you have seen at a CDMO, or
So
over
one
the
of the
time?
biggest challenge, I would say, from my also day-to-day work experience was a location. I mean, I'm talking about, let's say, ex-US, especially in Asia, right? So some of the challenges that I had faced was the cultural-based language barriers, I would say, because on a day-to-day work basis, when we have the meeting, I would say we end up spending a couple of hours for the things that could have been discussed within like 10 to 15 minutes. So those kind of challenges that I had faced.
Scott, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so well, the QMS is, it's not, I haven't found a CDMO that I wouldn't go with because their QMS was bad. Let's put it that way, Bob. I agree. But there's always room for improvement within QMSs. And that's, I think that's where the question is coming from, is that the way that QMSs can be used by CDMOs to implement kappas or to deal with deviations, and how those deviations are classified can affect you as a client or as a sponsor, especially if somebody classifies a minor a minor and they don't have to report it to you, and a major and they have to report it to you. But who determines the minor and major on my process is a question that I would always want to ask, because what one person thinks is minor may actually be really major and could have derailed my process. The other issue is that within the CDMOs, you have so many clients that are there that all have deviations, and because it's a CDMO and they must be quiet about their other clients, you don't know if the deviation that affected you has affected 5 other clients. And you may never know, because it's not, sometimes it depends on what the search string is that the person uses within their TrackWise or whatever to search for other instances where this deviation occurred. If they put in my code name as part of the search string, I'm only going to get my code name's deviations, and that deviation may have only happened one time in my process, but it happened in somebody else's process last week, and it happened in somebody else's process the week before. So that will affect how my product gets produced, and will affect how my deviations get classified as major, minor, or critical. Mm-hmm. That's a difficulty, and that is a real problem at CDMOs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you too, Praveen, because the question surprises me. I mean, fundamentally, if you're a CDMO and you aren't delivering quality, you're not going to be in business too long, I do not think. So I'll just interject what I have heard from biotech professionals for years. The bottleneck or the challenge at CDMOs has been on the analytical services side and getting analytical support. And it's not that it's not good, it's that they don't have the people to do it. And that analytical always seems to be where they need more professionals, and it kind of holds up the program. So what I've heard from other professionals is if there's a big challenge across CDMOs and you're looking for analytical support for your program, it's that. And not quite on quality. So what have you seen, Praveen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that quality concerns in general, I do agree that culture can play into it, but I think as long as the foundation that the CMO is providing to their employees is one that's grounded in the fundamentals of what we consider quality within the pharmaceutical industry, from the health authority perspective and from the sponsor perspective, then, you know, we can always fight over the last 5%, but, you know, we should be already at 70, 80% of the way there. And auditors actually are very good at figuring out, okay, what is the base of the institution that you're at, and how is that going to impact? How could that potentially impact the quality of the product that you're making? But to your point, Louis, I think that the analytical area is tough for a lot of CMOs, drug product CMOs in particular, because it's just not a core competency. Sterile products, drug products facilities, they are very good at keeping a place clean. That's what they're good at. Outside of microbiological testing, you know, it's an add-on service. It's a bolt-on service, unless they happen to have purchased, you know, a laboratory where someone has really built up that workforce of people to do that kind of testing. And that's why a lot of times you hear people say, well, no, we have to keep it all on site because we don't have to want to deal with transport and, you know, those times in terms of release and things like that. But sometimes it's a devil's bargain when you do something like that too, because you're asking someone whose core competency is not analytical to do analytical, and then you end up with yourself in the quality system a lot.